So this year, the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus aren't really the most popular iPhones from Apple because the iPhone 10 is just around the corner. But despite all of this, I actually picked up the iPhone 8 Plus for myself to give iOS a chance. I've been using Android for the majority of my life, and switching to iOS was a big deal. And for the past 24 hours I've had the iPhone 8 Plus for, I'm actually kind of liking it. So here are some of the reasons why you should consider buying the iPhone 8 Plus right now from a pure Android user perspective. First up is what's staring directly in front of you. It's that screen. Now, the iPhone 8 Plus has a 5.5-inch Full HD or 1080p screen, which makes for a rather low pixel density when you compare it to the flagships of the Android world. But consider this. For me, a good screen must have good colors, which the iPhone 8 Plus has. It must be vivid, which again the iPhone 8 Plus is. It should have really good viewing angles, and the iPhone 8 Plus has incredible viewing angles. If you look at the phone from a 90-degree angle even, you're probably going to be seeing most of the stuff on screen. And last but not least, because I live in Dubai, it must be good under the sunlight. And this one, although it doesn't get as bright as the Galaxy Note 8 for example, is really easy to use at full brightness under the sun. So combining all of that, I think the screen on this thing is really good. It's not the sharpest out there because I have seen 2K and 4K displays from the Android world, but for what it is, I think it's a real good experience, and because Apple's thrown in this True Tone function, it makes for an even better one and a more incremental one even from the iPhone 7 Plus even. Now, True Tone is a function that they've used on the previous iPads, and they've ported it sort of over to the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus as well. And what it does is it dynamically adjusts the ISO or the white balance levels on the display of the screen to make them more pleasing to the eye, and it's based around what your surroundings are. So right now I'm near my lights, it's going to be a yellowish tinge, but when I'm outside it's going to be more white. So really makes for a good experience, and it's a nice thing to have. I've grown used to it for the past 24 hours, and now when I switch back to a phone that doesn't have True Tone, it kind of feels weird, and I don't know why. For the majority of last year, one of the most debated things was Apple's courage to remove the headphone jack on the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus. And the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus once again do not come with a 3.5mm headphone jack. But to replace this, Apple's been kind enough to actually throw in stereo speakers on their new iPhones. Personally, I tend to favor any stereo experience over a mono speaker experience, and the iPhone 8 Plus doesn't fail to disappoint. It's very loud, so you can listen to anything you want, even in noisier environments, and I could crank the volume up to even 2/3 before I started to notice any sort of quality drops. And this is one thing I really want Android flagship manufacturers to incorporate on their phones: stereo speakers. Samsung, I'm looking at you. Let's take a moment to stare at this glass back now. Yes, Apple's revamped the iPhone 8 Plus to now support wireless charging. And that's one more reason to buy it, because not many Android manufacturers throw in wireless charge. What, you thought I'd be impressed with wireless charging on the iPhone 8 Plus? It's been around on Android for the past 5 years, but I'm glad Apple is finally borrowing another one of Android's really good features, incorporating it onto their new phones, calling it innovative, and probably making it more mainstream for the future. So props to you, Apple. Aside from the banter though, iOS 11 is really fast. In fact, with just 3GB of RAM and Apple's A11 Bionic CPU, the iPhone 8 Plus is the fastest phone out there. Most things on this thing run like butter, and the benchmarks are a testament to the power that is on this phone. But because of how smooth the transitions are, it gives you sort of this illusion of being seamless, but it isn't, and really occasionally I found myself losing frames when trying to use 3D touch on the phone. Now, this might just be an iOS 11 thing, so it can be nailed down with a future software upgrade, and I'm sure Apple is gonna look into it. But apart from that, I think iOS 11 is just a very seamless experience, and I quite enjoyed using it, as basic as it might be. And while I said the beefy processor and RAM handle power well, another one of the iPhone 8 Plus's major selling point is AR support. Apple's sort of gone all guns blazing for this experience, and with my previous Android AR experience in Project Tango, not being as responsive as I would have thought it would be, I think Apple's take will be more responsive with the power that the phone has. I've really been impressed with Apple's take and some of the apps that are still in development, like this beta IKEA app where it allows you to pretty much set up furniture in your room. And overall, I think there's a huge possibility for AR in the coming years, and just the idea of it being paired with such powerful processing power makes me want it as soon as possible. So to round up, one of the last reasons to buy the iPhone 8 Plus is that camera. Sure, it's rocking the same megapixel count as the iPhone 7 Plus on both the front and back cameras, but it still somehow manages to take better pictures than the previous model, and it's got the highest DxO mark rating for a smartphone camera ever. To have 2x zoom with no loss in quality thanks to the telephoto lens and portrait mode in your pocket is a huge deal and really adds to the photo taking experience. I've also played around with portrait lighting, which lets you add filters over your portraits, but I think it still requires some work, and rightly Apple still labels it as a beta software. Only time will tell if it turns out to be as game-changing as portrait mode. And lastly, that 240 FPS slow motion video capture just is mesmerizing to see at times, and I really can't wait to test out the camera further. But that's really all that I wanted to address. The iPhone 8 Plus by itself is a great phone, and if you are planning to switch from Android, you will definitely enjoy the experience, even though you hate to admit it because you're an Android fan. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like rating down below and subscribe for more videos like this one in the near future, as well as more iPhone 8 Plus coverage. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the very next video. Adios.